Josie, these are gorgeous. Oh, that's good work. Absolutely. Okay, so 6 column grid? 2, 3, 6 or 7 column grid. Let me know. Let me know. These are really interesting though. Very, very nicely done. Okay, the first composition, you've got your contrast based on grouping. That's fantastic. Nice work. Oh, listen, before I continue, I want to mention one thing. The one thing that's throwing us here is the fact that these aren't square compositions. You've got the square defined in the main composition, but you've got a rectangle composition placed in the square, which leaves the negative space on each side. So this should be white all the way. So these should be square compositions. Okay, that's really important. So you definitely want to do that because right now it looks like you compose these on a rectangular piece of rectangular file and then place the rectangular file in the square. Do you see what I'm saying? So you definitely want to add that. That may entail adjusting your grid a little bit, but this definitely has to be a square composition. Okay, first composition. All hierarchy based on grouping. Fantastic. Second composition. I love this. Is gorgeous. You're doing good work here. I mean, these are really very, very attractive compositions. I really like the asymmetry that you're creating, especially in these two, this one and this one. These are centered, but the type is left aligned. So that's good, but I think that we could probably do something even more interesting, like taking this whole thing and maybe moving it over so it's not centered in the composition, but it falls on one of the grid lines. Think of rule of thirds, right? So that might be a little more interesting if it were slid over this way or this way instead of the center. And we can say the same thing about this composition as well. I mean, maybe in this composition, you could take that 1969, flush it over here, and left align it with Chevy, move it up in the composition, and take this whole thing and move it over to your next grid line. So you're doing some really wonderful things with negative space. You're showing an excellent understanding of negative space. You're showing an excellent understanding of alignment. You're showing an excellent understanding of proximity, grouping, and hierarchy in general. So the second composition, you've introduced a new weight and a new scale. A new weight and a new scale. That's fantastic. Third composition, you've got multiple weights and multiple scales because you've introduced these little subheads. So that's really, really effective. The fourth composition, multiple contrasts in weight and scale, and then you've got the image of the car bleeding in two places, and that's fantastic. Good job cropping. That's interesting, very interesting. Now I'm wondering, in this particular case, I'm wondering if it might even be feasible to mask out the shadow of that car. It might make from, because these layouts are very, very clean, and that drop shadow right there on the car seems like it's just muddying up that composition just a little. Try it and see what you think. Also, over here, I would recommend this. In this composition here, you've got 1969 centered, but then your left margin is established right here. I don't know. I think that maybe it might be interesting to try this. Take that 1969, pull it over, and align it here. That's going to create some imbalance in the composition. We can counterbalance that by pulling the car over a little bit this way. Bleed it off the page, so just the front of the car is coming like this. That's going to counter effect the balance of that heavy 1969, and I think it's going to be really beautiful. But watch your kerning. Establish some kerning there. Remember our kerning rules with curved and straight. So you might want to work on that here a little bit and establish that kerning a little bit. Everything else looks great. This is very, very good work, Josie. Very good work. Let's get these in square format. Like I said, you might have to adjust your grid a little bit. Work on great job establishing asymmetry in your typography, but let's shoot for some asymmetry in the actual composition here and here. That center alignment is creating, it's not, it's still good, but I think by shifting this over a little bit, it's just going to it's going to activate this negative space in a really beautiful way. Conversely, over here, what you could do here feasibly is, well, I already talked about that. So what I'm shooting at is rule of thirds, right? Think about that and think about how interesting the negative space is going to be engaged once we pull these out of the center of the composition. So think about that. Let me know your thoughts there. Also, if you could shoot me a quick response here. I'm just wondering how many columns your grid has here. I think that would be fantastic to know. All right, fantastic job. Questions at all, please let me know, and I'll be glad to address them before your final submission. Good work, Josie. Thanks so much.